Hello.
Hi, Dyanne, it's Carl here. How are you?
I am just fine, Carl. How are you?
Pretty good, yeah, pretty good. I'm on my way to an art event,
Oh,
um,
wonderful.
so I'm looking forward to that. We've got three of them actually in a row, so it'll be quite exciting over the next few days.
That will be. I love your art shows. They are just amazing, incredible work.
Thank you.
Do you want to get started?
I'm ready, Dyanne, anytime you are.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give you an introduction. Hi, my name is Dyanne Klinko from Backstage Pass Presents, and I am chatting with someone that you all know very well. He was the powerhouse drummer for ELP and now has his own band, the Carl Palmer Legacy Band. He is also currently on tour with an incredible show, The Return of ELP. I would like to present to you our own Carl Palmer. Hello, Carl,
Hey.
and welcome.
Hey, how are you? Good to be here. Good to be talking to you.
It's so good to be talking to you too. I am so excited about this tour. Now, I understand that the members are, of course, you, Carl Palmer on drums, and Paul Belatovich on guitars and vocals. And then you have Simon Fitzpatrick on bass and Chapman stick.
Correct.
A great combination. What a great band.
Thank you. Well, what we're actually doing at the moment is it's the return of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, which involves Paul Belatovich and Simon Fitzpatrick. And what we have is footage of Keith Emerson and Greg Lake playing along with me on stage. And all of the audio is being mixed live.
Wow.
This is some footage that I managed to get hold of, which was from a group-approved DVD from the Royal Albert Hall. And this DVD had all of the audio lines recorded separately. So when you come along to hear me playing with Keith and Greg, I'm actually playing my drums live and the keyboards are live because they're all being mixed as if it was happening on the night. The same with the voice, the same with the acoustic guitar and bass, because all of the channels are separate. That's the only way I can remove my original drums and be there on the evening playing along with Greg and Keith. And of course, with this kind of audio feed, which we're putting out into the PA, which is being mixed live, is connected to footage of Keith and Greg actually playing to what you're hearing. They're actually playing their instruments on these screens and it's all in sync. There are two screens, one each side of the stage. Downstage, there's another screen. And on that screen, we show vintage footage plus pictures of the individuals as they're soloing and whatever. On top of that, there's Paul and there's Simon, as you quite rightly pointed out. They're playing along with me certain things with ELP, but as a band, we play pieces on our own. As the legacy band, we play things like Tarkas, Hoedown, Carmina Burana. But with Greg and Keith, in the beginning, A Lucky Man, I'm playing Paper Blood, we're playing Fanfare for the Common Man, we're playing Welcome Back. So it's a combination of two things, of two bands all on the same stage at the same time. And there's only one drummer, which is me, and I'm playing live all the time. And Keith Emerson's keyboards are being mixed live as if he was there. The same with Greg's vocals and his bass and acoustic guitar. So it's probably, and I make this announcement to you, Dyanne, that this is probably the only show that exists where this much is going on that's live. This is not holograms. It's actual footage of Keith and Greg at their very best. This is not any karaoke backing track. This is the actual keyboards all on separate tracks being mixed as we play, along with Greg's voice is on a separate track, on his bass, his acoustic guitar. Everything is happening as it happens, and it's happening in that building on that night. So this is the closest you'll ever get now to hearing Emerson, Lake and Palmer playing live together.
Oh, that is such an incredible show. I have to say, I have thought about this show ever since you first started your tour. And I'm out here on the West Coast. So I'm still holding my breath that you'll get out here because I haven't seen ELP in so many years. And the idea of this kind of show, I think, is going to raise a lot of emotion for me being able to
Well,
watch it.
and I'm sure it will for you, and I'm hoping it will for many people. I just want people to understand that this is something very, very different, totally unique, not being, it's not, no one else is experiencing this. No one else is doing this. This is something which is completely unique to ELP. To have the opportunity to hear the band play live, it is very, very, it's very, very rare this could ever happen. If the original DVD, which was released in the mid-90s, ELP live at the Royal Albert Hall in London, if that hadn't have had the audio track completely recorded on its own, if it hadn't have had that, I couldn't do what I do. And that's why I say to you that Keith Emerson's keyboards and Greg Lake's voices being mixed on the night, this is not me playing along with the DVD. This is me playing with them, because we're all being mixed together as if the band was on stage. We just happened to have group footage of Keith and Greg playing that was approved and released anyway, and it's all in sync with the audio file that you can hear. So this is extremely unique, and it's probably the strongest blueprint in the industry today to the way that it will probably go eventually. If people have got the material, like I've had, having the audio lines completely separate, so I could actually take away my drums and join Greg and Keith live.
Oh, that I am so excited about this. I'd like to know what the inspiration was behind the concept of this kind of show.
Well, I mean, basically, it's technology was the inspiration, because we know that it could all be synced up. That, you know, the footage of Keith Emerson playing, you know, could be linked to the audio that you're hearing, because it was already released on a DVD. It was group approved anyway, and it was all in sync, and we'd actually done all the editing together years ago. I just had to spend 8 to 10 weeks, or maybe a little bit longer, just taking out all the shots of me, because I'm filmed. I'm actually there in the center of the stage playing live, and there's a camera on me, and I'm being projected onto a screen along with Greg and Keith.
Oh,
So I just had to take the original footage and get me out of it, wipe all of the drums so you can't hear the original drums which were being played on those recordings, because I'm going to replay them again on that night when people are there. And we just had to make sure that it was all in sync, and it was. And it is, and it's due to technology. That was the inspiration. I mean, you can be inspired by technology, but if you haven't got the material to work with, then you know it's going to be very, very difficult. We happen to have had, you know, a 5-camera shoot at the Royal Albert Hall, and all of the audio recorded separately. That enabled me to get the camera shots I wanted, and to get all of the audio exactly spot on, so we could actually perform once more as a band.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad that equipment was available, your technology and the film. I'm so glad that was all available, because, you know, everyone is just so excited about seeing you and watching Keith and Greg and feeling like, you know, we're actually there. Now, how hard is it to market this show?
Well, it's not that it's difficult to market. I mean, it's very easy to market. It's just getting people to actually understand what they're seeing, because they've never seen this. As I explained to you earlier, this is the only show of its kind probably touring in the world. No one has ever got this far and been able to do what we're doing. As I say, I mean, just the editing of the camera shots is 2 months plus, you know, to get that right. And then, you know, all of the audio stuff to make sure that syncs up, and that I can play with it by adding new drums to what they're doing. All of that just takes time. So it's basically people understanding what it is, because these, as I say, aren't holograms. So the marketing of it is easy. It's just getting people to understand what this actually is, that it's one of a kind, and it's something which you should go and experience, because I don't know anywhere else where you can see this.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree with you. And you know, it makes me want to ask the question, will you be touring out West Coast?
Right now, we're finishing these few dates on the East Coast. I think we've got about 6 more left. We're already booking for November for the US. We are definitely wanting to do all over America. We're going to take this show all over the world. In actual fact, at the end of this year, we're in Japan anyway. But yes, there's no doubt that we will definitely be on the West Coast. And I would like to sort of if I could go across the top of America, Seattle, Portland, Maine, and come down San Francisco that way into California. I mean, that's what I would like to do. But it really depends on the routing of the dates. Right now, we don't have any California dates in, but we are looking. We are trying to make it all work. And I believe that we'll get there. We've got the beginning, we've got a middle, and we've got an end to November. So I'm sure we're going to be able to work it out to get across to the West Coast somehow. It's definitely something we have to do, and we will do it.
I'm so glad to hear that, because there's a lot of us out here in California, especially, that are talking about, when is Carl coming out with this show? When we're going to see him? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. So this is good news.
Soon, Dyanne, that's for sure. So don't worry. We are definitely working on it. You can let everyone know that. We are definitely working on it.
I will do that. Let me ask you something. This is just an observation I made. I see that you changed your drum bass logo from Carl Palmer to CP, but it looks like the initials match the ELP logo. And if I'm correct, did you change the bass drum for this tour?
I did it for this tour. Very, very observant of you. Yes, I figured everybody knew who I was by now, so I'd take my name off the front of the bass drums and just put the logo up there, because the logo, which is similar to the ELP logo but only C and P, it worked very, very well, and I've used it on a lot of product, t-shirts, vinyl, CDs, you name it, over the years anyway, and I think it was appropriate just to bring it across and put it on the bass drum, so I decided to do that. I did have a drum set in Europe that had just CP on the front, and I think it's probably a bit more contemporary look, than having my name across the bass drums. As I said, I'm hoping everybody knows who I am now. Yeah, and if they don't, I'll go back to the old drum.
I think so. I think we all, can look at you and go, I know who that is. No introductions needed.
Fantastic.
The whole show must take quite a bit of work, and I would think crew, to put this together.
Yeah, there's obviously, once you get into having to switch cameras and project onto, or to go onto different sort of video walls, we prefer to call them. Once you've got that kind of movement happening and you're showing vintage footage, then obviously, you need some staff. So back where everything is being mixed live, there are 3 people there who are mixing audio, are moving camera shots, are loading up new footage, just so it all stays in sync. So yes, from that point of view, yes, there's quite a few more people involved. And of course, there's more riggers involved because of the video walls. Plus, there's still there's still like drum techs and people who do guitar work and all of that. But there is extra, obviously. It's a bigger show in general. It doesn't even compare to the ELP Legacy Tour, the way we used to do things then, because it's so much more involved. And the 2 screens each side are really large, plus the downstage screen, which is the biggest screen out of all, takes a long time to get up, to get sorted. And that itself, shows a lot of footage of Greg and Keith from the past, or sometimes it's just me on that screen. So all of that preparation does take time, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can just imagine the work involved in something like that. Now, let me ask you, where can people go to buy tickets for your shows that are going on right now?
Well, they can find out exactly where I am by going to my site, my official Carl Palmer site. The dates are all mentioned everywhere, whether it be on Facebook or my site or whatever. So to buy tickets, once you see where you want to go, then you can just click onto that and find out, direct or however you want to purchase.
Okay, that's perfect. That's easy.
No problem there at all. It just depends on which venue you want to go to, because they've all got their own sites. They're all advertising. And if people aren't too sure about what they're seeing, or what they're about to see, or what they would like to see, I suggest they find the venue they'd like to go to, click on that, go to that venue site, and on that particular site for that venue, you will see sizzle reels, maybe 2 of them up there, of exactly what's sort of going on. And we'll be issuing a new sizzle reel soon. So it'll be all self-explanatory. You'll be able to see what's going on and how it's all working, and hopefully people will end up buying tickets.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm sure that they will, Carl. I'm sure they were. And if people want merch from this tour and they haven't been able to get to the tour yet, is there a site where that's available?
I believe that, the merchandise, I mean, just to ask, have you got a site set up to buy the merch? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, well, I would imagine if you go to my home site, Carl Palmer Official, you'll be able to sort of see where merchandise can be bought. We've got a new shop sort of set up to take care of that when you're buying online. So that will be covered and you'll be serviced immediately on whatever products you want. That's always been there anyway. So whatever products are on this tour will be on that site, which is basically my official website. Just go to that.
Oh, that's wonderful. I like hearing that. I think I'm going to go.
A rock shop on there, and that everything is taken care of there, and it'll be sent out to you immediately. And any problems that you have with anything, and you just let us know, and we'll replace it or whatever. But yeah, don't worry about that. This merch that's on the tour is definitely available online.
Oh, that's fabulous news, because I know there's some merch I'm looking for, so I think I'll go check out that site.
Okay, fantastic.
Let me ask you a question on another subject. I understand that your art shows that you say you have 3 of them, are going to be held in the home of an ELP fan.
Well, normally I've got a list of people that have been collecting the art for many years now, some of them up to 15 years. Mm-hmm. Some of them are sort of avid art collectors and have as many as 3 or 4 pieces, maybe 5, 6 pieces in their collection. Mm-hmm. Well, what we do is we always offer them an opportunity to have an art exhibition at their property if they wish. They don't want to do it there, they want to do it in a local hall, then we'll look at that. But what I try to do is give them something back as collectors, because they've supported me over the years. So I say to them, if you want to do this, then we will donate X amount of the money that we make on that night through selling the canvases to a charity of your choice. And you choose the charity and we'll make sure that the money gets forwarded on. So we do all of this prep before we do the art show with the particular hosts, and we go through everything with them. And that's how we've been doing it. We've always done it that way. I've always found that, when I've used a gallery, galleries take too much money. Mm-hmm. It doesn't go to, and they don't do very little. Mm-hmm. This way, I'm going to people who really appreciate the art. They like to see the art. They have friends who want to get involved. There's new collectors which I meet. And on top of all of that, we end up giving something to a charity that is connected to the actual dealer himself, whoever collects the art. And that whole family thing really works well. So from my point of view, this is a much better way of doing it. I still do galleries, but I prefer this way as it's more personal, it's more connected. Mm-hmm. It's just better overall.
It is. I can see how that would be. And I think that's fabulous that you set up a donation of their choice. I think that's just like the icing on the cake.
Yeah, I think with something like about, at the moment, I mean, there's been so many different charities, I can't reel them all off, but we've donated for everything from like a donkey sanctuary to domestic, abuse, for a children's home, for a deaf clinic, or people who've got hearing impediments or whatever. There's just been so many of them. I think over the years, it's been close to just under $50,000 we've actually given away to these various charities, which are all listed. Most of them are listed in the art books that I've produced, which I don't have anymore. We've sold out, but we're in a reprint situation now. So overall, it just spreads some goodwill and the love, so I'm very happy to do that.
That's excellent, Carl. I'm really happy to hear that too. That just makes my heart sing. I love it. Let me ask you a question on a more on a different wavelength here. ELP. I would like to know what your favorite album was and why.
It's hard to say which it was my favorite. I think, I did like all of them, except maybe not Love Beach, but all of the albums I thought were great. There was one which I think was the most wouldn't say productive, but I would say the most inventive, the most creative, probably the pinnacle of whatever we did, which would be Brain Salad Surgery. That album really kind of topped it for us. And that was, probably ELP at its very, very best. I mean, I like them all. The live version of Pictures at an Exhibition. I love the first album. They're all good to me. As I said, the Love Beach album, I wasn't my biggest favorite, but I have to say there were some great tracks on there.
There are.
Canario by Rodriguez was a great track, even though we didn't write it. There's some great stuff, but I think it's probably more the album cover that put me off, because we looked a bit like the Bee Gees standing on the front of this cover, and a prog band should never look like that. But yeah, I would say Brain Salad Surgery.
I have to tell you that Brain Salad Surgery, it was the very first album I had ever listened to that was progressive rock. The first song that was ever played for me was Toccata. It blew my mind. And he asked me, what did I think of it? And for the first time, I didn't know what to say. So I just said, play more. And that's when he played Carnival 9. And I was extremely hooked, and it was the very first album I saved my babysitting money to go out and buy. It was the very first album I ever bought, and I never looked back. I love it.
Fantastic. I'm pleased to hear that. That's really good news.
Yeah. Now, what was your biggest influence when you were learning to play the drums?
Well, I mean, a lot of people know about that, Dyanne, but I'll tell you, I had lots of influences, really. Whether it be like, Joe Morello, Gene Krupa, Elvin Jones, Buddy Rich was a big influence, Louis Bellson, just there's loads of them. My listening sort of menu is probably as eclectic as what ELP's music is. I just listen to everyone and anyone. That's how you learn. So there was lots of influences from the word go.
I love it, Carl. Well, I won't keep you any longer. I know you've got a very hectic schedule out on this tour for the Return of ELP. And it's been such a pleasure and an honor to talk to you today.
Okay, thank you for the interview. I appreciate it, Dyanne. And I'm sure we'll meet up when we're on the West Coast.